our first look inside Star Trek Nemesis. Secrets from the set.
All hands brace for impact.
What's new on the bridge of the Enterprise? How Patrick Stewart did his own stunts.
Do you think this is a wise course of action, sir?
We're about to find out, Data.
Inside the wedding fans have been waiting for, and what happens when one of the crew is brutally assaulted.
It was a violation.
The women of Star Trek. Why Nichelle Nichols almost quit, and who talked her into staying.
They said you absolutely can't.
Rare behind-the-scenes footage from the TV show.
Are you all right, Frankie?
I didn't see it. I can be there. That's all right.
Only for you, Bertie.
The candid moments you never saw on screen.
And meet the saga's new villain, Captain Picard's younger clone.
You're too slow, old man.
As Entertainment Tonight previews Star Trek Nemesis.
Began September 8th, 1966, when the Enterprise took viewers where no man had gone before. Hello, everyone. I'm Maria Menounos, in for Jan Carl.
And I'm Bob Goen. Yep, the original Star Trek with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy lasted only 3 seasons on NBC, but since then, fans have been treated to 4 other Star Trek series and 9 movies. And tonight, we preview movie number 10, Star Trek Nemesis.
Do you think this is a wise course of action, sir?
We're about to find out, Data.
The first Star Trek feature film for the 21st century is a rollicking action adventure that pits Patrick Stewart as Captain Jean-Luc Picard against a completely unique nemesis, a human replica of himself as a younger man seething with anger.
I am what you see now.
I see more than that. I see what you could be. The man who is Shinzon of Remus and Jean-Luc Picard could never exterminate the population of an entire planet. He's better than that.
Tom Hardy plays Shinzon. This newcomer to the Star Trek saga is joined by pop culture's most revered cosmic explorers, Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Gates McFadden, Marina Sirtis, and Brent Spiner as Data. Spiner co-created the story for the film, which opens December 13th. Brent had several goals in mind.
Make the emotional aspect of the film a little deeper than usual, and at the same time make it a kick-ass sci-fi action-adventure movie.
The Star Trek franchise's ingenious mix of science fiction, comedy, drama, and excitement has generated almost $5 billion in revenue from TV, movies, and merchandise, and inspired countless fans. Producer Rick Berman has been at the creative helm of this starship for 16 years.
The film deals with some classic villains, the Romulans, who we haven't seen in the movies for a very, very long time. It deals with the Remans from the sister planet to Romulus, a people we have never seen before.
On my mark, Deanna. All hands brace for impact.
What triggers the conflict is actually the prospect of peace. Picard's nemesis, Shinzon, has assumed control of the Romulans. It appears that these longtime enemies of the Federation desire a treaty, but appearances are deceptive.
The time we have dreamed of is at hand.
The mighty Federation will fall before us.
Star Trek Nemesis is far, far bigger than any of the other Star Trek films, just in terms of its scope, in terms of the sets, in terms of the action sequences.
Fire all ventral phasers!
You're too slow, old man.
But along with the thunderous action, there is intense human drama. The film begins with a long-awaited event, the marriage of the Enterprise's counselor Deanna Troi to Picard's number 1, Officer Riker.
I'm glad they finally played that card, frankly.
But their bliss is cruelly shattered when she is the victim of a savage assault at the hands of Shinzon.
Deanna, can you describe it?
It was a violation.
We shot a very intense scene that I was worried would be totally cut out of the movie because it could not be a PG-13. But they managed to salvage something.
I request to be relieved of my duties.
Permission denied.
And Picard isn't the only one with a double. Data comes chip to chip with his mirror image.
Do you have a name, sir?
I am B4.
You know, it gave me the opportunity to work with my favorite actor, for one thing, and I didn't get any lip from him.
Can I move now? No.
Why?
Because you are dangerous.
Behind the scenes of all this action, there was humor. As part of the adventure, the crew of the Enterprise lands on an alien planet. Amid the rubble of this barren landscape, they uncover pieces of an android, which may in fact be a prototype of Data.
It appears to be a robotic arm.
Very astute.
It's a creepy sort of scene that this arm is there in the desert and the fingers are doing this. Well, we were doing a close-up on me with the hand in the foreground, and just right after one of my lines, this disembodied hand gave me the finger.
We are alone, well inside their territory. I recommend extreme caution.
Star Trek Nemesis took just about 4 months to film. To hear the cast talk, the shoot was more like a family reunion than a movie.
It's like putting on an old shoe. In the case of Patrick, a very old shoe. But it's fun to hang around each other that much.
Very early on, they taught me that you must take the work seriously, which I'd always done, but you really don't have to take yourself seriously, which I had also always done. And so I learned through Frakes and Spiner and Co. To laugh at myself.
And the first day of shooting, I remember being really worried because we were on the set, absolutely laughing hysterically, you know, halfway through the day, and I was convinced we were all going to be pink-slipped because we were just having too much fun.
You can't trace my holographic emitters, Captain, so don't bother.
A worldwide audience awaits Nemesis, and the cast knows that those devoted Trekkies will scan every frame of this epic and no doubt pepper them with questions at future Star Trek conventions. Having such avid fans is something that still astonishes them.
I'll be at the autograph table and someone will come up and they'll be hyperventilating, you know, and it's so sweet. Sometimes people burst into tears. I mean, not guys, obviously, girls burst into tears. It's like they're meeting, you know, their favorite rock star.
Patrick recalls how one young fan thought his hero, Captain Picard, could do anything.
And he said, "Please, will you marry my mother?" Now, he was sitting next to the woman that I took to be his mother, who, of course, was mortified by this. I think she had not anticipated he would ask this question. So I had to explain to him that legally it just wasn't possible for me to satisfy his request.
Coming up next, the villain.
Destroy them.
Captain Picard's younger double.
He is very cute, isn't he?
And the unusual thing this tough guy did to get the part.
It certainly made us all sit up and pay attention.
Then we're behind the scenes with Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock.
We're working our way through a goodbye here.
Kim Cattrall is a brunette and Kirstie Alley's big break.
It was great. It was my first job. I was very grateful, don't get me wrong, and I really wanted to do it.
As Entertainment Tonight previews Star Trek Nemesis. Welcome back to Entertainment Tonight as we preview the new movie, Star Trek Nemesis.
Gene Roddenberry created one of the most enduring television and film franchises in the history of entertainment with Star Trek over 35 years ago. He talked about what he believed made it stand out before his death in 1991.
Perhaps one of the primary features of Star Trek that made it different from other shows was it believed that humans are improving. They were vastly improved in the 23rd century and would continue.
What started out as simply a dream for its creator had become an American institution.
I hoped people would like it. I hope now and then over the years someone would say, I saw it and it was nice. That would have been great. But this is insanity.
In Star Trek Nemesis, Patrick Stewart meets his match, literally. Hundreds of actors were auditioned to play Captain Picard's alter ego, and the role went to a virtual unknown who at first glance doesn't look the part. It's up to British actor Tom Hardy to play the villain.
I can feel everything you feel. In fact, I can feel exactly what you feel.
Tom is an extraordinary actor. Really very distinctive, very unique.
Destroy them.
He has to dominate huge sections of this movie to be the dynamic engine of much of the most important scenes.
And Tom quickly proved he was up to the task. His challenge was most difficult. He's an adversary who is quite literally Picard's equal. Shinzon is a young human clone of the captain with one key difference, a streak of evil.
I get to beat him up. You know what I mean? I get my own spaceship. You know, I get to go in there and wear tight purple spandex and have at it.
We will no longer bow before anyone as slaves. The Romulans and not your mighty Federation. We are a race bred for war and conquest.
Are you ready to plunge the entire quadrant into war to satisfy your own personal demons?
I did watch a lot of the old Star Treks to look at Patrick, because when initially, when you're told you had to play a clone or something, immediately you're going to think, well, I better look at everything he does and how he moves, how he talks, how he walks. But we have totally different lives, circumstances we've been through. So I didn't have to copy him in any way at all in the end.
Best known for his roles in Band of Brothers and Black Hawk Down, Tom was cast in Star Trek Nemesis after an exhaustive search. The actor was the suggestion of a friend of Patrick's who'd once been an agent.
I called her and said, look, they say they've seen everyone, but is there any actor you know whom Star Trek haven't seen who could be me and younger? She said, absolutely, I know just the man. He wasn't seen because he's been filming abroad. So Tom put himself on video. It was a bizarre video. There are some people who believe that he was actually naked in this video, and he was in a hotel room in Morocco, and he had the sides of some of the Shinzon scenes, but he was improvising them. He wasn't really doing what was in the script. Well, it certainly made us all sit up and pay attention.
The rest, of course, is history and what could be a career-making role.
Not quite the face you remember.
Not quite.
A lifetime of violence will do that. They broke my nose, my jaw.
Makeup and prosthetics helped Tom to more closely resemble a young Patrick.
I did look at him sometimes and think, I looked at myself in the mirror once or twice, and I remember filming myself when I was on set, and just trying to pull the Picard smile, which was kind of odd because it did look quite similar. But that's freaky, so I had to put that down.
One thing Tom didn't have to do for the role was shave his head.
I was bald anyway when I turned up to do the movie, because I was doing a French Polynesia movie, so I've been bald in most of the films I've done, had no hair, so it was really how I came. And I think in the original script I had a mane of blonde hair, and I don't think that was going to work, actually. But I was going to go for just a little tram line here, like a Tyson thing, but that last minute went out, and we stuck with just the shaven bullet look.
Marina Sirtis shares some on-screen passion with the young actor. That was something she looked forward to, but there was a downside. Ultimately, her lover turns violent.
When they told me that I had this big, bed scene with a 23-year-old, I was like, whoop-de-doo, Sorry, Michael, that's my husband. But that was kind of exciting. He is very cute, isn't he? Yeah, very cute, good lips. And I wish it had been more enjoyable, because it really wasn't.
And as for Tom making a return appearance, should there be another Star Trek?
I asked Rick Berman on the set, I said, Rick, any chance of like a sequel, or something? And he was like, no, we've had enough of your time, thank you very much. But I guess we'll see. I'm still working on it.
Coming up next, the women of Star Trek.
Denise, Kate, Whoopi, and Jerry.
That's a fan. See?
Why Nichelle Nichols almost played a different role.
I read for Spock.
And later, what happened the day Kirk and Picard dueled in the desert?
Entertainment Tonight, but this afternoon it's work.
As Entertainment Tonight previews Star Trek Nemesis.
Welcome back to Entertainment Tonight as we go behind the scenes of the latest chapter in the Star Trek saga, Nemesis. Now, from the very beginning, the show's creators broke many racial and gender barriers. From Nichelle Nichols to Whoopi Goldberg to Kate Mulgrew, the women of Star Trek have always played an important role.
This is like my family. I love this show.
Nichelle Nichols was the first woman of Star Trek, playing Communications Officer Lieutenant Uhura on the original series from 1966 to 1969 and in 6 of the films. But when she heard about the job, she wasn't even going to show up to try out for it.
I had intended to stay in Europe for a number of months when this came up, and I refused to come home. So my agent sent me a first-class round-trip ticket and said, you have your buns on that plane.
When she got there, she didn't know who she'd play because it hadn't been written yet.
When I got the job, they didn't even, there wasn't an Uhura character. And so I read for Spock.
The rest is Star Trek history. Leonard Nimoy was Spock and she became Uhura. But after the first year, she was thinking of leaving.
at some fundraiser, I met Dr. Martin Luther King, who said I was very important in their household, that I was a heroine in their home, and blah, blah. And I was just flabbergasted. And I said, well, I'm going to leave the show. This was after the first season. And he said, oh, but you can't. And I said, what do you mean, Dr. King? And he said, you absolutely can't. Do you understand how important you are? And so I said, yes, Dr. King, and I did not leave. And I'm very glad that I didn't.
Also on that first show was Majel Barrett. She was initially the ship's second in command, but after the pilot was shot, NBC asked Gene Roddenberry to make some changes, cut the number of women, and get rid of Spock. Well, he fought to save Spock, but he couldn't keep Majel in command, so she became a nurse and Gene's real-life wife.
He kept the guy, you know, with the ears, and he married the woman because he didn't think that Leonard would have it the other way around.
I can't maintain a positive lock.
When Star Trek returned to TV as The Next Generation in 1987, Denise Crosby was one of the women aboard, playing Lieutenant Commander Tasha Yar. But Denise's tenure lasted just one season.
I am leaving the show. I am taking off. I'm hitting Earth, so to speak. See what else is out there for me.
Even though she was killed off, Denise eventually made a return appearance in a parallel universe storyline in 1989.
I'm having a ball. It is so much fun. First of all, my old spacesuit is back on. This thing still fits. That's a great relief. And it's weird. It's like I never left.
That's a tough argument. Eyes on ignition, data is machine.
Also on The Next Generation was Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan, hostess of the lounge 10-4. She told us that she had been inspired by Nichelle Nichols and that first Trek series.
This is one of the few shows that take place in the future that I saw as a kid where there were any black people. You know, Lieutenant Uhura was there. That gave me a lot of hope.
I have a worm that's 300 years old inside of me. I'm a symbiont.
When Star Trek Deep Space Nine premiered in 1993, Terry Farrell was the unusual crew member named Lieutenant Dax with the mottled look.
I have the same job that Spock had and that Data has. I have a lot to live up to. It's a lot of pressure.
She enjoyed her 6 seasons on the show, but all good things come to an end, and Farrell decided to leave in 1998.
Our baby would have been so beautiful.
She told us fans were upset that she decided to go.
They were so supportive, and they were just completely shocked and upset, and I had several of them coming up to me crying, and I can't watch it if you're not on it, and I was really surprised how many people I'd touched.
Red alert! Move us away from it, Lieutenant.
Women had been such strong forces on the shows that it was only a matter of time until one ended up in the captain's chair, and that was Kate Mulgrew as Captain Catherine Janeway on Star Trek Voyager in 1995.
This is a huge chapter in my life. This is a great chapter in my life. And I'm old enough, and I hope I'm wise enough to understand that. I feel, at risk of sounding rather silly, I feel blessed.
She did manage to keep the mood light on the set.
Roars ahead. You grab a time field had no effect?
Full impulse.
It is acceptable.
Though Janeway provided the strength, producers decided to add some spice to the show in 1997 with the introduction of Jerry Ryan as the Borg-raised human 7 of 9. We were there at her coming out party when she complained about her wardrobe.
A very unique costume, which is skin tight and rubber and up to here and stiff and not the most comfortable thing in the world. And then I'll be into something very sleek and sort of sexy.
We even took Jerry to a Star Trek convention.
Perfect. But that's a fan. See, I'm bracing myself for the time when I get to drink out of my own head.
There are a number of life forms aboard.
And the tradition of strong, sexy women continues on Enterprise with Jolene Blalock as the Vulcan T'Pol. Though she does have one problem with the skin-tight costume.
When I have to pee, I have to have somebody unzip me because I can't reach.
Other than that, she's overjoyed to be part of the Star Trek legacy.
It's phenomenal. It's fantastic. I have no idea what I've gotten myself into. Oh, and what lies ahead.
Coming up next, candid moments from the TV show.
This is the industrial strength Starfleet regulation brassiere.
Behind the scenes with the cast of The Next Generation on their very first day.
I sit in the captain's chair and I say warp speed.
Why Will Wheaton left the show and what it's like to wear all that makeup.
Basically, your head covered in plaster.
As Entertainment Tonight previews Star Trek Nemesis.